Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Come on, you woolly bastard! Come on!
Bigfoot flying through the air so fancy free.
This is like it's like a crossover of this podcast and our other one, our Kevin Smith podcast.
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah. Folks, it's a brand new Sasq watch. Sasquatch. I'm David Bell, one of the hosts.
I'm Tom Ryman, another host. And folks, we are keeping our eyes on Sasquatch.
We really are. We're learning a lot about Sasquatch.
Discovering a lot. A lot that they don't tell you in school about Bigfoot.
They don't.
Squatch.
They don't. We're at episode 5. Only 5. And a big old thank you to Bob Grenville, our Patreon producer, who gave us a list of Bigfoot movies and demanded that we watch them and learn about Bigfoot and think about what Mulder would perhaps do if he were there.
He never makes it better. He never makes the situation better for anyone.
Only worse.
Yeah.
Only worse or the same. Because a lot of Bigfoot movies go bad, it turns out. We're fascinating times because we just watched and we are going to talk about 1996's Drawing Flies. A movie that you can find on YouTube currently.
It's almost as hard to find as the mighty Sasquatch himself.
Yes, I have a DVD of it. I saw this movie when it was released. Yeah, I know.
I got Bigfoot in my contacts list. I saw Bigfoot last year.
No, I saw this movie on VHS originally. I saw this when it fucking was going around. It was released around, mind you, it was like 2002, so it still wasn't the 90s. This movie has a bit of a background here. It's a View Askew movie. Mm-hmm. Now, what that means for people is that Kevin Smith had his View Askew Productions. Largely, View Askew movies are, at this point, it's just his personal company. You know how directors have that, right?
Yeah, like Amblin.
Yeah, well, not even like, I mean more like Tarantino, right? Like he only directs the movies under his
production
Band Apart? Yeah.
A Band Apart, yeah.
Kevin Smith basically does that now too. Like if you see a View Askew movie, it's almost guaranteed to be a Kevin Smith film. But this is one of I think only 2. This and Vulgar. Early in the View Askew like stuff, they made movies with other directors, and this is one of them. This was made immediately after Mallrats, and you can tell. Because the entire cast of Mallrats
most
is in
of the cast of Mallrats, yeah.
Ben Affleck was like, no, I'm not doing that.
Nah, I'm good.
It is, it's produced by Kevin Smith and Scott Mosier. Kevin Smith's in it.
So is Scott Mosier.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's playing a classic Scott Mosier cameo, playing very undignified role.
A real humiliating weirdo.
Yeah. Would you believe I actually wrote this in my notes before looking it up and confirming it? It is shot on the same film stock as Clerks.
Yeah.
I almost think Kevin Smith just still had some film left over, as I was imagining it. Probably not.
For a whole feature, I don't know.
No, film's expensive.
Maybe he just knew that this was the affordable film stock.
Yeah. So it's a gritty black and white. It is the first starring role for Jason Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah. like his solo starring. You could argue he stars in Mallrats, but technically he's the sidekick. He's the funny friend.
Yeah, but it really is more about
it's a
him.
Buddy. This also might have actually just come out before Mallrats, because I don't think this took a lot. Even though it was shot after Mallrats, I imagine this was an easy turnaround. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. This was the first time you saw Drawing Flies?
This is, yes.
Curious to know what you think.
Oh, man. I had a lot of thoughts about this movie. I didn't like it, per se, but it made me nostalgic for this era of independent film, where there were, like, in my mind, there were two, like, genres of independent film after 1994. It was either hitmen or a hangout movie.
Yeah.
This is a hangout movie. That's, what Kevin Smith made with Clerks. And this is just that, basically. It's a movie about clever dialogue, set in a weird setting.
Yeah, and I would argue the dialogue isn't clever enough.
Watching this movie really makes you realize how good Kevin Smith is at this, even though that's the thing he also gets knocked for the most, is his writing all the characters kind of just end up sounding like him.
Right. But like the Scooby-Doo conversation in this, I was just like, you don't have the juice.
Yeah, there's so many scenes. It's like every other scene, the movie just stops for them to have a quote-unquote clever conversation with each other.
Right, and it also made me appreciate Kevin Smith as a director, honestly, because a lot of those conversations in this are kind of just shot on wides, and there's not much editing in them. Like the Scooby-Doo one, it's kind of like profile, and like, I get it, again, film is expensive, but even in Clerks, Kevin Smith knew when to like cut to a close-up, or to have a character like really hammer the point. Like a lot of it's muddled, the pacing's off, like you don't feel the points. Or the things being said. My eyes glazed over a lot when people were just talking about whatever.
It's just most of this movie is just talking about bullshit. Oh.
Yeah. But also Bigfoot.
But also so Bigfoot, like, sort of.
Yeah, my take on this movie is actually like, I really think the broad premise is good.
I do too.
Yes, and I think maybe this would have been a really good first act if condensed into 30 minutes of a larger horror comedy. And in fact, we should remake this movie.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah. Someone should. This should be remade. So the premise, for people who are wondering, because you're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, we've been talking for 7 minutes and we haven't gotten to that yet.
It's a group of dirtbags. Very Always Sunny to me. This felt like an Always Sunny premise too.
Man, this would be a fucking Always Sunny premise, because he wouldn't even need to explain himself really. He gets a vision and it would just be like it would just be like Charlie or something.
Charlie huffs paint and gets a vision.
You're gonna go find Bigfoot and make some money.
Because it's a group of friends and they can't pay rent. They don't want to get a job. The whole thing is like they don't want to actually do what it takes to pay rent, which, I get it too. We've built a really shitty system for us, but, so they don't want to get a job. They go to like a house party where they're charging, and that's how they're paying rent. So they decide to maybe do that. That falls through. They're all kind of idiots and stoners.
Stolen,
yeah. Because they leave the kegs out. Jason Mewes is there, by the way.
He is.
Yeah.
So is Renee Humphrey from Mallrats, and Ethan Suplee shows up, Joey Lauren-Adams.
Yep, they're all there. It's fucking nuts.
Carmen Lee from Chasing Amy.
Yep. Yeah. She's the Chasing Amy. Yeah. That's the only, I don't know if she's in Mallrats.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Anyway, the keg party, that falls through. And meanwhile, Jason Lee has a vision of Bigfoot. He sees Bigfoot in his apartment. Well, I believe high.
After zoning out watching a $6 Million Man marathon, and the Bigfoot episode came on.
Right. And he decides, let's all go out into the woods. Let's all recalibrate. He doesn't tell them quite why he's doing it. He says, my uncle has a cabin. And he leads them out into the woods. And so a lot of this is road trip, where it's a lot of them in the van. They make a few stops.
They steal
It's kind of weird at first. Yeah. I kept being oh, is this the camping? And then they get back in the van, and it's like, oh, okay. Again, it's very much just like grunge kids hanging out. Yeah, like, did you notice?
What?
They don't dress for the woods. They're wearing the same shit they wore at the party.
Yeah.
Like Jason Lee's in like a button down, and I'm like, what is this? You guys you're going to the woods. What are you doing? And it's a lot of like zany adventures, like a lot of getting high, walking and talking, but in the woods. They run into Diaper Man.
That is really it for a long time.
Yeah.
The Diaper Men are a nice change of pace.
Yeah, they run into Diaper Men, who are, I guess, what they sound like. Scott Mosier, they're like a little cult in the woods doing like
some kind of
stuff.
Support group. Yeah.
Yeah. Kevin Smith also
up like
shows
babies
up
to work out old resentments.
Jason Mewes plays a band manager, and I was like, I don't believe that.
No.
I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe Jason Mewes can manage things. Not this era Jason Mewes. His bassist is Kevin Smith, where I was like, I do believe that. Kevin Smith has bassist face through through.
He's got maximum bassist energy.
Yeah, he really does. So they go out into the woods, they're getting high, and Jason Lee just keeps leading them more and more into the woods. And he keeps saying like, oh yeah, it's weird that
just a little
we
bit
haven't
further.
had the cabin yet. Yeah. Fucking they don't seem to like Jason Mewes just bullies that other guy most of the movie.
Yeah, a lot of the characters are crazy unlikable. The dialogue
don't
is
like
just
each other.
them cursing each other out in the worst like ways.
Every now and then, like, they're pals because Jason Mewes hurts his arm, and after that they kind of get along. But again, it felt like Always Sunny, but like somehow darker, where they aren't like funny.
Yeah,
they're just at
calling each other
slurs. Yeah, and just like hurting each other.
It's what the Always Sunny gang would be like in real life.
Exactly. But the reveal finally is that Jason Lee has led them out there to find Bigfoot. And they at first they're like, they think it's bullshit, obviously, but they're mad at him because he lied about the cabin. There's no cabin. He's just out there, and he keeps insisting Sasquatch, right? When they say Bigfoot, he says Sasquatch.
Yeah.
And he's like weirdly obsessed with it, and he starts like finding traces of Sasquatch, and they think he's crazy. Meanwhile, Jason Mewes is hurt. His arm gets infected, and they're like, we need to get the fuck out of here. And he kind of holds them hostage because he's like, great, yeah, you go, I'll stay here. And they're like, well, we're not going to leave you in the woods to die. Like it's like a standoff where his friends are worried about him, and it's kind of like he broke, right?
Yeah. It's not a lot of... it's not really built up enough, but...
it's like weirdly subtle.
Yeah.
But then... near the end, they basically confront him, and he's like rubbing shit and mud all over him
and eating
it.
And
he's like, I have to mask myself.
Yeah.
You guys don't know what you're talking about. He's like, I feel sorry for
now.
you guys. Yeah.
He's talking about how he's about to like commune with the universe and stuff.
Yeah,
he's like, there's nothing bigger than this.
Right. He's like, this is the biggest fucking thing. You dummies. Like, you don't even know. And he's so confident. He's got that Jason Lee like confidence that he's really good at. And so like he's very good casting for this, honestly, because he always seems like he's in charge. When he talks, he seems like he knows what he's talking about. So when he's like rubbing shit on himself and still talking with that authoritative voice, you're like, man, he's fucking lost it in this like kind of terrifying way.
Yeah. It's when the movie gets interesting for me.
Yeah. Because everything up until this point, again, is like filler.
It's just endless walking and talking, just endless Scooby-Doo and Death Star contractors conversations, but
which I find fascinating.
Much less good versions of the Death Star contractor conversation.
Right. I find fascinating because I don't think it would have cost much more to make the version of this movie this should have been. So basically what happens is Jason Lee goes nuts and they leave him there. And they finally say, okay, I guess we have to go. Like, our lives are in danger. Our friend hurt his arm. We gotta go. and they leave them there, and they all go get jobs. And so their ultimate arc, like what this movie is saying, I think, in that arc, is like it's a group of friends who don't want to join society. And again, I get it. It sucks. Getting a job sucks. It's demoralizing. It's unnatural. And at the end, they're all at a party again. They're like, "What are you doing?" And it's like, I'm working at a movie theater or wherever. Like they all have these like jobs they're clearly not happy with.
Muse is a telemarketer. The other guy's back at the museum, they say.
Yeah. And like, listen, they're like 20 in their 20s. Yeah. They're fine. They'll be fine. They have plenty of time to pursue dreams. But like, again, I get it. And so it's kind of the idea of these friends who they don't want to join society. They don't like it. They think it's bullshit. And one of them snaps and basically goes like, I'm going to live in the woods with Bigfoot.
Yeah. I'm going to go hunt down Bigfoot.
Because he just doesn't want to do this, you know? And so that's what he does. And then the rest of the friends kind of realize like, yeah, I guess this is the alternative is to snap.
Yeah, is to walk into the forest and never come back.
Yeah, and to cover yourself in shit. And like, I guess this is it. We have to face the music. And so it's them basically going home and going, all right, let's get a fucking job, I guess. And so there's a clear arc there, you know? The twist is that it cuts then to the woods at the very end, and Jason Lee is sitting with all the big feet.
Yep.
Yeah, and Bigfoot is real, and he's hanging out with them all, and he's like, those fools.
Yep.
He dances with Bigfoot at one point in his
dream. Yeah, the dream sequence is fun.
Yeah. And the big feet, you can tell, like, they didn't have much of a big feet budget.
No, but they look fine, because you never really see them. You see enough of them. It's just mostly obscured or from behind.
Yeah. In terms of, so like, I think as a short film, like, had they made, this is like 70 minutes.
I kept thinking short, and it was expanded from a short.
Maybe. I think it's basically too front heavy, right? Like, it's loaded
with so
Clerks?
much filler.
You know?
Yeah, But there's some cool stuff in it. I liked, there is one like legitimate shot that starts with it's when there's a jump scare when Jason Lee comes up from behind the tree and kind of scares them when they're all talking about him. They're sitting in this circle of trees, but it starts up at the tree line and then pans down and then kind of slowly moves towards them. So it's actually like, oh, he's a shot, building suspense. Cool.
Yeah, I think they had like a little dolly and they definitely had sticks.
Yeah.
And they were making, honestly, I looked the directors up. They haven't done much. And honestly, from this, I mean, maybe, I don't know. We don't know how this was made, but I was like, there's talent here.
This is pretty ambitious. Yeah, no, I'm not knocking it. There's also the way the movie starts got me on a high point, and then right after it. Interview. I thought that was really well done. Like it goes through them in an order, and then it ends with like the nerdy guy kind of fumbling his way through it, and then it goes in reverse order back of them all getting rejected for their welfare, but then ends with the guy that it.
Yeah, being like,
thanks. I got like he gets the money. It's a funny. It's well done.
It establishes characters too, and like when you look at that, it's like that's a good idea. The nerdy guy should have been the one who breaks then, like because they set the nerdy guy apart, right? And I thought he was going to matter more, and ultimately, that's the thing is you're right. It's really good setup, and then it meanders for a really long time, and then it's a really solid ending, and it's like. I think they either had a short or I kept again thinking of this, the first act of something of a horror comedy, right? Where you have Jason Lee bring them out and there's this idea that he sort of holds them hostage, or rather he holds himself hostage, right? Where
he's
it's like,
sort of holding them too, because for like he keeps it going for like a day or two after Muse hurts his arm. Like they're like, we got to get into the cabin. It's close, right? And we see him think, and he's like, yeah, we'll be there by tomorrow. So he like decides to keep the lie going.
Yeah. You could see that being like the halfway point or the first act where it's like, okay, we're out here hunting Bigfoot and they're lost at that point, right? And that would be a really good halfway point where like he's a maniac. And then you have shit start happening, right? Like almost Blair Witch style. You have like at night they hear noises, like, and you get this, you start getting it, or you could go in the direction of like Bug, right? Where it's like, is there big feet?
Right.
Or is he out of his mind? And he could become dangerous, you know? And you could make like a horror premise, right, in the woods there. And I honestly don't think that would have cost much more. They just needed to like. It's just weird. This movie, it's such a weird. Like Clerks, the point of Clerks was they're at work, they have nothing to do, right? And it was sort of showing like the fun of working a shit job, right? Like we all kind of did this, right?
Yeah.
We all worked a shit job where we had to sit around and talk. And all you had was, it's like being in prison. And they were showing like the fun of like sitting around and shooting the shit in Clerks. The problem in this is that they're not trapped anywhere. And they, in fact, like, you're sort of just waiting for something to happen more in this one. Because like, it's all well and good to have people sitting around and talking, but Clerks has plot points too, right?
Right, the things happen moving forward, and also the conversations are actually funny in Clerks.
Yes,
this is just, it's so loaded with 90s slurs, and it's just they're just cursing each other out.
There's nothing clever about what they're talking about.
No, it feels like a feeble attempt to mimic Kevin Smith.
Right, and it makes you hate the characters. They're
nobody's likable, yeah. Not a single one of them is likable.
Right, like Randall's a dirtbag, but what he says is funny. And that's enough to make you go like, oh, yeah, I mean, oh, Randall. I wouldn't want to know Randall, but like he's fun to watch.
Right, but he's a fun character and you like him.
No one's fun to watch in this.
Nobody is fun in this. I mean,
everybody's
Jason
cool.
Lee gets fun, but like it's so spread out. And also, I bless these actors, but some of them are really struggling. Like
Ethan Suplee, according to some trivia, said this was one of his worst experiences. So I don't know. And he's only in one scene.
He's in one scene, yeah.
Yeah. I get the vibe that they all basically, they shot this in Vancouver, and I want to talk about that later. But like I get the vibe that they made Mallrats and was like, yeah, let's do this little fun project. And then I feel like they felt like, oh, well, we have all these people in this camera. Let's make this. But it didn't feel fully realized, you know?
No, it felt very meandering. And like you said, so much of it is entire conversations that are filmed in a wide shot.
Yes. And like these like shitty shots of like a party. Like it doesn't look good at first. Like and once they get into the woods, it honestly does look good.
Yes, the wood stuff.
For the most part.
Like I say, that one, the jump scare shot's like a good shot. The bridge.
Yeah, it's like Blair Witch.
It's an ambitious movie.
I mean, the only shot that was like, this is why you don't shoot it on black and white film. There's a shot of the moon, and I'm like, what is that? A street light? Like, it's just this blurry orb.
You don't know what it is. Yeah, it's
It's like, well, don't even use that shot. Like,
why did you leave that in the movie, man?
But like black and white, the woods looks good in black and white. Like a shitty apartment doesn't really, and they don't have good sets, so they look like it just looks shoddy and like.
I'm sure it's just people's
dank.
apartments. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's
again, have one scene where they're trying to do Rent, one scene where you show that they're down on their luck, have the scene where he sees Bigfoot. And get them out into the woods, like 20 minutes in, max. You know?
Yeah, get these fuckers out there in the woods looking for some big feet.
It's a 70-minute film. Mm-hmm. Like, you should spend most of that in the woods. And, like, you can still have some fun conversations there, but it can be leading to something. At that point, they're walking through the woods. They have a direction. They have a goal. It's so top-heavy with this, like, first act meandering. It's like, all right, there's the scene where
I will say that it did give me a good understanding of how public assistance worked in Canada in 1996.
Yeah, it did.
Because if they were just doing like shorthand, I might have been confused about what was going on.
Well, yeah, like,
but we also didn't need to spend 40 minutes on it.
Right, because it's not all on that, right? It's that scene. And then it's like
I understood
a lot of scenes of
I need to do about the welfare in the opening narration, and then the interview scene that begins the movie. That's all we needed.
Yeah, and then it's like here we're going to a party, and there's like that weird party guy outside who's like weird and twitchy.
Oh, the dancing guy. It's like, I'm getting close to the door. That was one of the only times I genuinely laughed was at that guy.
Right.
Because he's doing like this cheesy, like snapping his fingers dance, trying to get in without paying for it. And it's actually kind of working. Like they're enjoying it. And he's like, I'm getting closer to the door.
Right. Yeah. He's trying to jig his way in.
Dancing closer to the
that
genuine
was fun.
laugh. Genuine laugh. I would have let that guy in.
There's so much meandering in that where it's like, okay, it's a party. And they're just like chatting about Scooby-Doo or being like, here's Kevin Smith. He's a bassist. I'm like, is he going to matter? No. Then why are we talking about it?
They do a scene where Muse and him bump into each other and almost recognize. They do like the Maverick joke.
Oh, yeah, they do. Yeah, that was cute.
That was cute.
And then it's like more scenes where they're at the house and they're like, we should do our own party. I'm like, okay, is this the premise? And then that is like a false start. But there's a lot of scenes where these wides of them just like on this dirty
Sitting
couch getting high.
Couch smoking weed, yeah.
It gave me the vibes of like when you go and buy drugs and then you're in the drug dealer's house and you're high and you're like, I got to get out of here. Like that feeling of like, I got to get the fuck out of this room.
Right.
This, like, it's those rooms where you're like, ugh.
I'm not really this guy's friend.
Yeah. And like they're screaming at each other and like weird shit's happening. Yeah. And you're like, I just wanted some acid. Like, I don't know. I've had experiences like that. There was a place where I grew up called The Lodging that was like this weird apartment, and it was like mostly basements. I had a friend who lived there, and like that's the place you'd go if you wanted to buy drugs, and you'd find yourself in this random room in The Lodging, and it would be like this weird unhinged thing playing out always. Like it was just like, I don't know, it was fun adventures. But
oh yeah, I had a similar story.
Oh yeah. There's always those like apartments where you're like,
it was a house at Corolla Lake.
Ooh. Yeah, I love those sketchy houses. Oh man,
I somehow wound up in a fucking blacklit room.
Yeah. And you're like, oh fuck. This went out of hand. I just wanted some drugs. Oh, I love those. And that's like most of this fucking movie. Again, it's mostly like
it's just aimless,
hanging out, watching people smoke weed.
Conversations, but it's not this I'm nothing against them. It's just not at the level of like Linklater or Kevin Smith. So it's just kind of pretty dull until it gets interesting toward the very end when we realize that Jason Lee's been snapping. And there is some kind of fun, subtle stuff that I reflected upon once it becomes clear that that's what's happening. Like, you're always kind of suspicious about the cabin because he seems cagey about it. So you're like,
right.
From the jump, you're a little suspicious whether the cabin is real.
Yeah.
But at one point, like early in it, when they're still in the car, you kind of see his map. And you can see all the doodles he's drawn on his map. Don't touch
the map.
It looks crazy, but you don't really think about it at the time because you haven't been given enough information in that direction, so you don't know if it's just, well, maybe that's just what they're drawing the map to look like so we can see it clearly in black and white. Maybe it's just a stylistic choice. Maybe it's just a joke. But later when it's revealed that he's nuts, that makes way more sense because he's just doodling like a madman on this map.
Yeah. It's such a good slow burn idea that they spend no time burning. They
spend almost nothing on the slow burn and all of it on these dumb conversations that aren't funny and don't go anywhere.
Because we've all had this joke, right, with a friend where the friend's like, come with me, trust me. And you do the joke of like, oh, what if he's going to kill us right now, And that's kind of like you could have done the slow burn where Jason Lee's like, follow me, I got the map. And slowly over time, we're like, I don't know if he's, Like
I kept checking it on Wikipedia and IMDb to see, is it a horror comedy? But it's
right.
No, it's just comedy.
It really could have been a great fucking horror. They just needed to spend more time in the woods. Again, 70 minutes. You had 70 minutes. And you spent a lot of that in like first act. It's all first act.
In a real gross apartment.
Yeah. It's like, I don't want to be here, man. Take me to the woods. Make me fucking be scared of Bigfoot. It's weird that we're talking about this because it's a Bigfoot movie.
Right. Barely Bigfoot.
And Bigfoot is barely in it.
Bigfoot's in 3 shots.
Should we get into Bigfoot facts based off of that?
This is some Bigfoot facts that we learned from this movie. We didn't learn too much.
I have 62 facts in general, and we don't have to roll through them all.
Let's not roll through them all.
I want to talk about some facts in this that reflect.
Can I? Mind if I say something?
Oh, yeah.
Since you've been talking for a while.
Yeah.
I want to give you a break. You kind of handled the synopsis. So let you rest your vocal cords for a minute.
Yeah.
All right, here's the first one. Bigfoot's is psychic.
I have that. Bigfoot calls us. He lures us to the woods.
Sometimes Bigfoot's is psychics. Bigfoot's is introverts. Bigfoot's is shy. Could not get Bigfoot's to come out, right? And that has borne true in the Bigfoot legend, but not necessarily in the movies. He's not been terribly shy in the movies we watch. Anyway. And the last thing I have is uncles have cabins. That just seems to be the truth.
I put that Bigfoot loves uncle cabins.
Uncle cabins. He cannot resist them.
Yeah. I think there's one that ties in here. Big feets get married, which we already knew because Bigfoot is divorced.
Bigfoot,
according to Pottersville,
and
exists. Yeah, we see here. Jason Lee says they probably even have marriages. He says some Bigfoot facts every now and then. To find Bigfoot, you must prove your worth to Bigfoot, is what we learned.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if you
have to do the trial of the orange bark or whatever. You have to wander through the woods for 5 days.
I'm glad we know this. This taught us that of how to become one with Bigfoot. You have to prove yourself. Also, if you get high enough, Bigfoot will come to you in a dream.
Yeah, you open wide the doors of perception. Who's on the other side? Bigfoot.
Yeah, and so assuming all that was psychic Bigfoot luring him to the woods, that also means Bigfoots love to slow dance. Or at least will, or know how to.
By that token, are we to assume that Bigfoots astral project?
I think so.
Yeah, right?
And they call weird little grunge art school stoner kids, I guess, with fucking rockabilly hair. I don't know why they chose Jason Lee, but they did.
They reached out to him. His mind was a vessel, Dave.
Yeah, apparently. They reached out to him from the woods. It does imply that there was some sort of astral projecting like procedure that they did that lured Jason Lee into the woods.
Also, I'm going to float something here based on Jason Lee's reaction to the term Bigfoot in this film. Is Bigfoot a slur?
It might be. Oh my God, it might be.
Might be.
Now, when you think about it, it does sound like it could be a slur.
It sounds like a slur. Bigfoot?
He keeps correcting them. Because he is essentially possessed. Yeah, he's possessed by Bigfoot in this. Yeah. He's representing Bigfoot. So yeah, it might be. Because he keeps going, Sasquatch. Say Sasquatch, goddammit.
Yep.
Yeah, it's at least like a minor slur.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not dignified. It's not a dignified term.
I'm writing it down.
Yeah, Bigfoot is a slur. Do not say Bigfoot to a Bigfoot.
Yeah, we should continue to look into that. I think the ones that I'm like, okay, it's almost safe to say this is true. Bigfoots love uncle cabins.
That is
and
absolutely
uncles have cabins.
True. Yeah.
And then Bigfoots are married and divorced. I think it's pretty clear at this point.
Mm-hmm. We have all the evidence we need to make that conclusion.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I think it's time to be like Mulder and talk about what Mulder would do.
What would Fox Mulder do?
I just want to point something out.
I wonder if it's going to be the same thing.
This movie was shot in Vancouver.
That's true.
And there's a scene where they're by a lake. I'm almost certain that is the same lake, and in fact, the same exact location as Conduit when Mulder chases the wolf. I'm almost certain they are in the exact same fucking spot.
Man,
on our chat, I'm sending you a picture from that episode. I'm almost certain it is the same fucking location. I looked at the mountains.
Oh yeah, it is
the rocky shore.
That 100% is. Yeah, this.
I'm pretty sure
is
this
the same
film
spot.
is shot at a fucking X-Files location in Vancouver.
I was going to point out that the opening narration is very much a Fox Mulder report.
Yes.
Jason Lee even sounds like Mulder.
It looks like him.
He kind of looks like Mulder. Yeah, he does.
His journey
when he starts,
is a Mulder journey.
I had this thought of, this is just sort of related because he does kind of look like Mulder, but he kind of, when he's rubbing shit on himself, he weirdly starts looking like Ryan Reynolds. Did you notice that?
Oh, Jason Lee always way back in the day when I saw like Waitings, when I saw Ryan Reynolds, I was like, hey, you just took Jason Lee. Like I think Ryan Reynolds' whole persona, especially earlier, I was like, Jason Lee, you're doing Jason Lee. So like he sounds like him a little bit. And like to be fair, Ryan Reynolds has obviously separated himself. But I think if you look at early Ryan Reynolds, it's like you're just doing Jason Lee.
Yeah, he really is. Even like the head movements and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like that's Jason Lee.
Absolutely in this. So Mulder would absolutely. We actually joked about this on the other day, like in movie night or something. But there's no way Mulder doesn't know Search and Rescue by name. And like
right.
There is
the Mountain Patrol.
Yeah,
they know to just keep a helicopter fueled up when Mulder's in the area because he's gonna get fucking stranded in the woods.
Yeah, because there's no way Marty. Mulder. Yeah, Marty.
Gotta go save Marty Mulder. Oh,
I think Mulder does this every weekend. He drags Scully out into the woods and tells her there's a cabin.
Scully, we're gonna go to my uncle's cabin. No, it's really there this time. It's really, really there.
After like 3 times, she was like, "No, you just go, Mulder." And I guarantee, like, I feel like this is what he does every weekend. Covers himself with shit and mud and loses his gun.
Right.
I bet there's a beaver dam made of guns out there somewhere.
Guns and all of his like ties and badges and stuff. It's all of the detritus Mulder has left.
Yeah. Like, this is just a Mulder adventure.
Right. Like, everything Jason Lee does in this is what Mulder would do.
Yeah. He'd become like, in like that grotesque episode, he'd become possessed by like Bigfoot lust and like draw Bigfoot on like a bunch
showing
and
that
like
Jersey Devil Bigfoot picture dreams. To everybody.
Yeah. This is just, he like Jason Mewes, I guarantee he would hurt himself climbing a tree.
Oh God.
And have to be airlifted out.
He would refuse. He would run off.
Yeah.
They'd wake up one morning, he'd just be gone, like the first guy to vanish in Blair Witch.
Right, yeah.
But he'd be off, he wouldn't have gotten grabbed, he'd be off shoving shit into his mouth and rubbing dirt all over his body so that Bigfoot will accept him.
It's just
a Mulder adventure.
It's wild how many of these we watch where you can just take a character and lift them out and put Mulder in. So it's actually more fun to think about the first half of this and Mulder in the first half, because I also can see him there as like that quiet weird guy at the party. When this was before Jason Lee got obsessed, when they were just like walking around, I kept imagining Mulder like 10 feet behind them, just quietly walking behind them. Like I was imagining Mulder hanging out with these grudge kids as like a roommate, as like the creepy roommate who doesn't do drugs and just like is always there. And they're like, I don't know, he pays the rent on time. What can we do about it?
I could see him finding them at the party too. Like he's like, there's a Bigfoot attack in this area. Could I get some, maybe you savvy young locals can lead me out to this spot in the mountains?
Yeah. Like fucking Seth Green, right? In the second episode.
Yeah. In the second episode. Yep.
Yeah. Like I could see them if this was an X-Files, I could see like you have the Jason Lee vision as like the inciting incident. And then like Mulder is like, yeah, you know, Bigfoots have been known to have psychic abilities or some bullshit like that.
They've been known to astral project and waltz with you in your dreams.
Yeah. And then he follows Jason Lee into the woods.
Scully, how else would you explain that I've had that same dream? That same longing deep in my soul to understand something beyond myself. This gentle
like in Jose Jones.
Spirit. Yeah.
He's just watching Bigfoot at night.
Just watching the Bigfoot video before he goes to sleep.
Yeah. And then he's like, I had Bigfoot dreams, Scully. How else do you explain it? It's like, I don't know. Maybe the fact that you were watching Bigfoot.
Sleeping in Bigfoot sheets.
Yeah. There's also a version of this where this is like one of the X-Files where we don't see it. Where if Jason Lee didn't find Bigfoot, it would just be the story of Mulder following kids into the woods, watching them get high a bunch, and then realizing that they're just stoners. and then leaving.
I could see
I could see them like shoving Mulder into a lake and laughing at him.
Yeah, just kicking him in there. Hey, Dad, I lost another gun.
Yeah.
If you see a beaver swimming away with the gun. Yeah. He's like, stop that beaver.
Because we've talked about this. Mulder could be tricked by any stoner who just says, yeah, man, Bigfoot. You just
have to say you saw an alien or Bigfoot.
Yeah. He'll follow you.
Like, another version of this I could see is Jason Lee calling the FBI or calling Mulder and being like, I think I know how to find Bigfoot. And
giggling in the background.
And it kind of goes the same way. Like, I could see an X-Files episode ending with this character just disappearing into the woods, right?
Yeah.
Because a few of them end that way.
Oh, yeah. I think what would happen if Mulder, I think Mulder would become the obsessed one, right?
Yeah. It would be
Jason
like Ice.
Lee would get, Jason Lee would get murdered by Bigfoot. And Mulder would never find Bigfoot. Or Jason Lee would get taken by Bigfoot. Because you would have the same ending where Mulder goes back to the FBI. He finds nothing. No evidence. He writes some poetry and sends it to Skinner. And then you do the pentameter. Right. And then you do the ending where you see that Jason Lee has actually been like the Big Blue ending, right? Where where it's like, oh, they were real. They didn't want to hang out with Mulder. Like, that's the thing. They would not let Mulder in.
They would not let Mulder in. They charged Mulder $20 to get into the party.
Yeah. They would steal Jason Lee and maybe knock Mulder out. And then he'd be like airlifted out in the hospital. Like, I was so close, Scully. You know, that deal.
That's just how he ends every weekend. Every Sunday, he's airlifted out of the woods.
Yeah. They have a spot ready for him in the hospital. They're just hoping one day he'll die of exposure and they don't have to do it anymore. The government has spent so much money on this.
Oh, man. That's the GDP of a small nation.
Yeah.
Just on Mulder's bullshit.
Yeah. It's just Mulder just getting mauled in bear dens looking for Bigfoot. Yeah, this is a very Mulder one. I mean, to the point that it's literally the same woods. Yeah. Mulder has been in these woods.
He's seen all of these trees before. He's communed with the same spirits as Jason Lee.
Fucking Vancouver.
Yep. Van City.
Yeah.
I think we answered that question. I think we know what Fox Mulder would do.
Yeah. So, goddamn, that's it for drawing flies.
They have been drawn.
Again, it's on YouTube. I have a DVD. I tried to digitize it, and it's like this old fucking DVD. So it digitized it in like a series of weird pieces out of order, and I don't know.
So you had an opportunity to make your own Phantom Menace cut.
Exactly. Oh yeah, I could make a short
Grace
version
cut of drawing flies.
But yeah, get it while it's hot on YouTube. Otherwise, you're gonna have to buy a DVD, an old ass DVD of this. Our next episode is The Wild Man of the Navidad, and I don't know what the fuck that is.
Me either. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's I think it's. Hold on, I'm gonna Google it. The Wild Man. It is of 2008. It's on Tubi. People want to watch ahead. Does not have good reviews.
It just says it's a throwback to Legend of Boggy Creek. All right, let's do it.
All right. I'm into it.
Let's do it.
Oh, this one it looks like a little found footage. I'm getting Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibes. Yeah, I'm into it. Again, we've learned this. Most Bigfoot films are slashers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They end up being pretty wild.
After that, we have Willow Creek. So,
you know, it's been a while. I could stand to watch it again. It's been a while.
Me too. We'll learn a lot about Bigfoot in that. It's a documentary or a fake documentary. So
we're going to learn some chilling truths about Bigfoot in that movie.
Yeah, we are. Yeah. But until then, thank you, Bob Grenville, so much for teaching us, helping us learn about Bigfoot with drawing flies.
So we can keep us all safe. We owe it all to you.
By killing them all, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the idea.
We're compiling this research so that we may destroy them.
Yes. This was accomplished through our Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed, You get access for just $5 a month, access to exclusive podcasts like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and Spiel Boys. But you can also get like custom We Just Watched episodes made, custom podcasts. That's a whole tier on there. For just $10, you can get all those podcasts and watch movies with us every Friday night. We have some Bigfoot movies that we got to watch.
We got to show some of these to the... To the viewers on Patreon night. It's going to be fun.
We really do. So yeah, check all that out.
Yeah. We also have a store. Head over to gamefullyunemployed.com where we have a link to our Teespring store. We have all kinds of cool original artwork and designs. You can get on t-shirts, mugs, stickers, posters, all sorts of things. So slap your fly drawing peepers onto that.
Yeah. Don't trust Bigfoot.
That also, we kind of do need to write that one down too, right? Because even in Pottersville, don't trust Bigfoot because he wasn't real. He was Michael Shannon. It was alive.
It down.
Bigfoot was alive.
Trust Bigfoot. I would say in general, this is the best outcome, is just hanging out with Big Feet.
It's the best we've seen so far. Well, Pottersville too.
Yeah, but even in this, it's like there's no TV or anything. So
maybe it's awesome. Maybe they do have TVs.
Maybe. Oh yeah, maybe they have a spaceship or something.
Yeah, we don't know. It could be parked there. Maybe it's invisible. You don't know what kind of technology Bigfoot has.
We really don't.
But we can assume it's foot-based.
Oh, yeah, 100%. It's flying with your feet. It's eating with your feet.
Foot-shaped airplanes. You steer with your feet.
It's the Foot Society.
Mm-hmm. You might say he joined the Foot Clan.
Oh! No, you wouldn't say that.
You probably wouldn't. You would probably never say that. It would never occur to you to say that. All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.